morning. We'll start with a little call and response and together singing. I hope to hear you. Show me the way. Show me the way. Your love will light the way. Sound great. Show me the way. Show me the way. Show me the way. Your heart will light. Together now. Nam, 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 namaste. Nam, 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 namaste. Nam, om, nam, om, nam, om, namaste. Namaste. Nam, 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 namaste. Nam, 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 namaste. Nam, om, nam, om, nam, om, namaste. Sound great. Holy, holy, holy ground. We are standing on holy ground. Love and light and joy abound. We are standing on holy ground. Holy, holy, holy ground. We are standing on holy ground. Love and light and joy abound. We are standing on holy ground. Holy, holy,
Thank you, thank you. Wonderful members of the band. You start with something still and then you burst with joy. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa. I am delighted to see all of you here and to know there's a whole nother audience on live stream. I'm Tara Steele, the Education Minister here at the Center. If you are joining us for the first time, or if you've been coming for ages, you are welcome. Children are also welcome here. They can be with you in the sanctuary or back in the family room. They can also enjoy the coloring table out in the social hall. We love to see the children's drawings on the bulletin board. Again, welcome to our live stream viewers. We are grateful you are sharing this time with us. And live streamers on Facebook or YouTube, it would be awesome if you would look for that little share button toward the bottom of the screen and help us spread the word about this amazing teaching, the science of mind. If you're curious about what happens here at the Center, please visit our website, cslsr.org. You'll find our Sunday bulletin by clicking the photo of the typewriter on the home page. It contains information about everything happening in the next few weeks here at the Center and online. If you're wondering about what we believe in the science of mind, please go to our information table in the social hall after the service, or visit our home page and click on the About Us tab, where you'll find what we believe. At the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa, we are motivated by a vision of a healthy, loving world. It is known as the global vision and calls us to imagine a world that works for everyone. Here is one part of that vision. We envision a world in which resources are valued, cared for, and grown, and where there is generous and continuous sharing of these resources. We follow this vision through the 5 core spiritual practices of our teaching. Would you please read them with me? Spiritual study, affirmative prayer, meditation, selfless service, spiritual circulation. Now, I invite you to settle into our service. Somewhere in the music, meditation, prayer, practices, and message is exactly what you need for the next step on your spiritual journey. Please enjoy some music before our short time of contemplation. Know that you are welcome here.
As the wind blows, I let go. As the wind blows, I let go. Let go, let God, let go, let God, let go, let God, let go. Would you try that with me? As the wind blows, I let go. As the wind blows, I let go. Let go, let God, let go, let God, let go, let God, let go. As the river flows, I let go. As the river flows, I let go. As I breathe in, I let go. As I breathe out, I let go. Let go, let God, let go, let God, let go, let God, let go. Let go, let God, let go, let God, let go, let God, let go.
There is one yes, one love, one creative force in and through all things. This yes is infinitely abundant, infinitely present, infinitely creative. And since there is only one, I must be made of this yes, this love, this presence. And as this is true of me, it is true of each one listening, each one watching, each one the beloved, each one this love expressing, each one this yes manifesting. And so I speak my word for this service, and I claim that here and now we remember. That's simple. We remember who we are. Somewhere in the words of the message, the prayer, the songs, somewhere in the silence, we remember that we are the beloved, that by simply changing our mind, we change our lives. And that's the magic. We are the beloved. And so I give thanks. I celebrate this truth, this remembering, this service, and this yes, and this love. And I turn my word over to the law that always says a tender yes to us and to life. And so it is. Good morning. I'm Venus Maher, a licensed prayer practitioner here at the center, and I ask you to read the affirmation with me. I free my mind to be an open conduit of good.
Now is the time when I let go of my fears, inhibitions, and sense of dread. When I give up control and I let you hold me with no resistance in my soul. Now is the time when I let go of my fears, inhibitions, and sense of dread. When I give up control and I let you hold me with no resistance in my soul. This is the day when I throw it all away to the fire of the all-loving one. And now I have just what I need to be free, to feel who I really am. This is the day when I throw it all away to the fire of the all-loving one. Now I have just what I need to be free, to feel who I really am. Here is the place where I fall into grace and release into the sweetness of your love. And I surrender and I remember the light and the beauty that I am. This is the day when I throw it all away to the fire of the all-loving one. Now I have just what I need to be free, to feel who I really am.
Oh, yeah, let's give some more love to Chris and our wonderful band, Brett and Tony and Tina. Thank you for that. So, all right. Dr. Edwards sends his love. He is at Seaside giving talk as our spiritual leader for our movement today, and he'll be back with us soon. But he wanted to share his love with you and let you know that he misses us all, and he'll be back with us. And in the meantime, we get to talk about money. Why are you all laughing? Yeah, I know, that's kind of how I was feeling too. I'm like, I got the money talk again this year? Why is it that Dr. Edwards always on, somewhere else when this talk comes around? I don't get it. So I started to think about, okay, well, what is my relationship with money? And I was kind of, doing a little life review and looking at my past, and I thought about how I grew up. And I grew up, my parents, divorced when I was young, and so I would often spend my summers with my grandparents on my mom's side of the family. And I love my grandparents. I love spending time with them, but when I was a kid, I didn't actually realize just how poor my grandparents were. They grew up in the Depression, and they lived in the same house their entire life. This was a house that they built, and this house was small even by Sonoma County standards. And so growing up in this house, I remember very clearly how cluttered it was. It was a little chaotic. In fact, there was this whole kind of narrow room that was behind the TV in the living room that I remember that was just filled to the brim with junk. My grandparents were hoarders, and I didn't know it at the time. And so growing up with my grandparents, I took on a lot of the ideas about money that they had because they were poor. They had ideas about money, and no harm, no foul. It's sort of a product of what they grew up in, growing up in the Great Depression. And so we would go out to get groceries, and me being the little kid that I am, as all little kids are, I was like, please buy me a toy. And my entreaties never seemed to work on my grandpa. He was pretty stubborn. He was able to resist. My grandma, though, I love my grandma so much. She was the most lovely, loving soul, and she just loved to see people be happy. She was this little 5-foot tall bundle of joy. And I would still have to wear her down a little bit. But eventually I would, and I would just sort of see her relax and just sort of sigh. And then she would get me a little $5 box of Legos. And I didn't realize at the time that that was a bit of a stretch for her. And so what I learned as a kid, I started to learn these phrases from my parents, from my grandparents. And one of those phrases that I sort of took on was, money can buy me happiness. Of course it can. My grandma spent money, and then she got me this thing, and now I'm happy. What I didn't realize as a kid, of course, is that happiness was a little bit fleeting, and it took more purchasing of things for me to feel happy. Now, because my grandparents also were not very financially well off, they had opinions about those who did have more money than them. And so there was also another phrase that I learned from them, and that is one that you may be familiar with. Money is the root of all evil. Yes. And so I want to talk about those two statements today because I feel like those are two statements that are really baked into our culture these days. And they seem to conflict, don't they? Right? Like, money's going to buy me more happiness, but money's also evil. And so we have to find a way to reconcile these. And so let's start with that first one. Money can buy happiness. Well, it seems fair to posit that when, at least in the United States and across the world too, the whole world experienced the Great Depression, that we might adopt this sort of an idea coming out of something like the Great Depression where everybody's impacted. Everybody's impacted by having their savings wiped out and not being able to support their families. That was a very real thing that happened, and I don't want to discount that. And when these kind of things happen, as a culture, we tend to react. And so the reaction that came out of that was, got to get more stuff, got to get more stuff, got to get more stuff, because one day the other shoe might drop, and now I'm going to have to sell that stuff so I have money to feed my family. I'm pretty sure that was what was going through my grandparents' mind when they were just accumulating stuff that I look back on it now, maybe they thought it had some value, and if something bad were to happen, they could sell some of those things. And so that seed was planted in our collective consciousness. And it grew, and it grew, and it morphed out of, I've got to keep all this stuff so I can survive, to this idea that money is going to buy us happiness. And so we should get as much of it as we possibly can. The more money I have, the more happy I will be. And that seed continued to grow and to grow, and pretty soon we find ourselves in the age of materialism. This focus on material goods and gathering more stuff, keeping up with the Joneses. So-and-so just got that new statue on their lawn, so I better go get a bunch of garden gnomes to fight it off. Otherwise, I'm not going to keep up. And this is a pervasive idea that is really real right now. And in my generation, I grew up in the video game generation. I played lots of video games when I was a kid. I still play a video game every now and again. And one of the things that we're noticing about games today, especially because they're on these things called smartphones now, is this idea of microtransactions. These video game companies came up with this money-making idea that, well, we're not just going to sell the game to them, we're going to give it to them for free. But inside of the game, we're going to have all of these microtransactions, these little things where a kid could spend the little bit of money that they do have, or they can just steal their parents' credit card and put it in there. And they can buy stuff. And they're preying on this idea of, especially for younger minds, that we've got to get more stuff. And so you might get this collectible in a game or this other collectible in a game, and it's never ending. And this idea has become so pervasive that thankfully, a lot of European countries now are actually banning these microtransactions because they see that it's a very addictive thing. That this constant hit, like we're getting a hit of dopamine in our brains when we participate with this. So that's just one example of how materialism continues to evolve in our culture. But the truth is, and we see this with research in the last 20 years, is that money probably isn't going to buy us happiness, not long-term happiness. And at least not past a certain amount of money. Once we get past a certain amount of income, these studies are showing, and this is the amount that tends to cover things like our rent, our mortgage, our food, supporting our families, health care, and gives us enough freedom, enough economic freedom so that we can explore, we can have good experiences, we can be curious. Once we get past that, everything else tends to be icing on the cake. It tends to be a diminishing return where that extra money is not really going to do much for us. And this wasn't a surprise to me being a psychology nerd because I know that this guy named Abraham Maslow did a lot of research and he came up with this thing called the hierarchy of needs. And what he found is that our needs over time tend to evolve once they're met. So once we meet our basic need for survival, then our needs shift. And now our needs become, I want to have more positive relationships. I want to have love in my life. And then it shifts and I want to have more spiritual experiences. I want to connect more. And it moves away from this materialism and from the pure accumulation of money. Another challenge that comes out of this, though, is that if we don't allow ourselves to evolve once we do have those needs met, that too can lead us toward unhappiness. And feeling less fulfilled, less satisfied in life. And that's absolutely been my personal experience because, growing up in relative poverty as a kid, I had that strong survival instinct sort of programmed in me by my parents and my grandparents. And I learned this not quite accurate belief that if I could just buy the next cool thing, whether it was a video game or a toy, then I would be happy. But even though I managed to get my college degree and get a job that paid all of my bills, I found myself more and more unhappy with all the stuff that I was accumulating. I actually found myself turning into a bit of a pack rat just like my grandparents were. I also found myself more in debt because I was so infected with the idea that expensive things, the more expensive something was, the more happy it was going to make me. And the problem was I was a musician, and there is no limit to how expensive guitars can be. I see you laughing over there, Chris. And so I would spend far beyond my means, and I got into so much debt. So that's one side of the spectrum. Now let's talk about the other side. Money is the root of all evil. Ooh, there's that word, evil. Ooh. This is a really powerful and challenging idea that seems to conflict with that previous statement, right? But nevertheless, I feel like this statement too is the cause of a lot of our problems around money. And I want to be clear, if we set aside the triggering word evil here, and maybe we say money is the cause of many of our problems to make it a little bit less absolute, there is a little bit of truth in that statement. For example, if we go back and we look at modern research again about extreme wealth, and when I say extreme wealth, I'm talking like tens, hundreds of millions of dollars. There's some research now that shows that once somebody comes into that amount of wealth, their level of compassion and empathy, when tested, actually goes down. I know. And the hypothesis for why that happens is because money becomes the means of solving problems then. After all, well, I got millions of dollars, I can just throw money at this and make the problem go away. But I think as we know here in our wonderful community at the center, oftentimes what's needed most to find the resolution to a problem or a challenge is just simple compassion and empathy. And I know for me in the past that when I was so focused on my money and my money problems, especially when I had more money, I was not the most compassionate person to be around. It was hard for me to open my heart and myself to others when I was judging my self-worth based on my net worth. But at least in the society that we currently live in, it is also true that having at least some money is both necessary and desirable. At least until we can reach that point where we can maximize our sense of freedom in the world. After all, it's really hard for us to grow and to have good experiences in life when our core need for survival, having food, having shelter, when those needs are not being met. And so that points me towards where we can find our answer, how we can reconcile these two. And the invitation, I think, is for us to find balance. Yes, that's the Buddhist answer. We're going to find balance. At the end of the day, money is just a tool. It's like a screwdriver, a power drill, a bandsaw. It's designed to make our lives easier. I believe that's what it was originally intended to do, is to make our lives easier. Because after all, it's a lot easier for us to just carry some bills in our pocket or a credit card or a debit card or whatever than it is to have a whole, herd of goats with us. I mean, have you ever tried to put a goat in your pocket? They don't appreciate it. What fills me with hope, though, is when I look at what other countries in the world are doing. For example, the country of Bhutan, which I know some of you have gone to on spirit tours and other tours, they pioneered this thing called the Gross National Happiness Index. I know, right? Don't you wish we had that? And they do still track those same money metrics that many other countries do, like gross domestic product and things like that. But they recognize that those money numbers only tell part of the story about where their population is at. And so they started surveying their population to find out just how happy and fulfilled they are. And this is like a 300-question survey, by the way. It's very comprehensive. And they do this because they know that money is not the only measure of success. It's not the only measure of happiness. And they are concerned most about the well-being and the happiness of their people. And this is true for other countries in the world, especially the Nordic, the Scandinavian countries that have a focus beyond just money. They recognize that money is simply a tool that should be used to cultivate more well-being within their society. And I want to be clear, I don't want us to idolize these countries because they also have their challenges. They're not perfect. There's things that they're working through as well. But I think there's a lot that we can learn from them. Because what they've chosen to do as a society is to expand their focus beyond money as simply a means to its own end. And what these countries are doing, we can replicate ourselves in our own personal lives. Because I think what they've found that we can also take in as a teaching is that money simply allows us to focus our attention, our consciousness, you could say, on a specific area of our lives. And that area can be happiness. It can be well-being. And this is a powerful practice that I've found that helps me to find my own balance, because it's taught me to recognize what money can do for me that actually does lead to long-lasting happiness and well-being. And it's not necessarily more stuff. Had to learn that lesson the hard way. Rather, I found that money can help me to focus my attention on the experiences that are meaningful for me in my life. Maybe that experience is going on a trip. Maybe it's going out to eat with friends or having some beers with the guys. Maybe it's the joy of playing music with a new musical instrument. I can hear Dr. Edwards saying, "Oh, he didn't buy another guitar, did he?" No, I didn't. Moreover, I can use that money to help spiritual communities like ours to grow and to thrive. In fact, I'd like to share with you our new giving intention video now that I helped to create with some of our staff members and our practitioners and our members who've chosen to place their focus on our community here. And I invite you to listen closely to what everyone is talking about in this video and see if you can identify the positive, meaningful experiences that they're sharing. Can we get that video, please? Thank you.
The Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa came into being to be a place that says to every person who walks in our doors or who joins us online, you are welcome here.
I'm so grateful for finding my center at the center. When I first walked in, I was welcomed by a spirit of love and fellowship. My spiritual journey of self-discovery and healing is now flourishing in an accepting community of unity, love, and diversity that is very active in supporting the surrounding community. I'm gaining so many practical tools taking spiritual classes that embrace freedom of thought. After each service, I'm uplifted and I take away new perspectives and focus for the upcoming week. And I'm having so much fun with the fellow volunteers in the bookstore. I'm happy to now be home with my soul and fellowship with my spiritual community at the center.
I am so grateful that our center is here and that it continues to grow. This past year has been a challenging one for sure, but what continues to inspire me is seeing how so many of us consistently show up to help us bring our Science of Mind teaching into the world and to share our spiritual community with Santa Rosa and beyond. We are all making a positive impact in the world, and that is beautiful to behold.
The reason I am grateful for the center primarily is because of the people, their love, their joy, their willingness to be themselves. I love the center because it's a place where I get to look within, I can be challenged, I can discover, I can transcend. I love the center because for me it's a place of healing, a place of peace, a place of love, and that resonates with me.
At the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa, we are guided by 4 core values: spiritual living, integrity, love, and compassion.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity to pursue spiritual study through the center. I've always enjoyed reading and learning, and to be able to take classes that increase my spiritual enrichment is a very positive thing happening in my life. The teachers, assistants, and other class members make a safe and respectful community for sharing and learning. I love taking classes at the Center for Spiritual Living.
Ours is a community-supported organization, so I want to thank you for the support that you give to the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa through your love, through your prayers, and through your financial support. Together, we are creating a world that works just a little bit better for everyone.
So did you hear what Shar and Greg and Lawrence and Dr. Edward were talking about in that video? Love and fellowship and healing and learning and volunteering, all of these are meaningful experiences. And thank you also to Shar and Greg and Lawrence and Dr. Edward for sharing your love with us in that movie. Or Greg is actually up doing our live stream right now, so thank you, Greg, for that. This is one of the most powerful, transformative things I know that we have to share here at the center. If there's anything that I hope that those who walk through our doors take home with them, it's positive, meaningful experiences like this. Really, these are deeper experiences of the divine, of spirit in our lives, aren't they? Those experiences, I know, are priceless. More and more, I think we're learning that it's not stuff that's going to bring us that happiness, but rather experiences that have meaning to them. Even corporate America is figuring this out. Companies like Google have done their own research and found that while big monetary bonuses can be life-changing for their employees, the real impact came when they rewarded employees with shared experiences, like trips to Bali or company barbecues even. And so I found that for me, money is simply a reflection of where I'm choosing to focus my attention. Where we share our money, I think, is a good indicator of what we feel is important in our lives. As I found myself with enough money that I would be able to share it with others, I was increasingly shown that where I spent it was a reflection of those things that I thought were important in my life. And the more I did an inventory on my spending, the more I realized that I could maybe do a little bit better job myself of directing my money to where it could actually do good and reflect back to me the good I wanted it to do. I learned that I can direct my money towards those things that make my heart sing. And even better, I could even allow that money to help others sing the song of their hearts. And so I shared my money with my spiritual community, and I spent it on trips where I got to explore and exercise my curiosity. I got spiritual books and I enriched my own understanding of the world. And I spent it on shared experiences with my friends, many of which are still my most cherished memories. And so the question that I invite you to ponder over the next few weeks is this: where are you focusing your attention in your life? And once you've answered that, I think the logical follow-up question is, am I good with where I'm focusing my attention? Or could I focus it somewhere else? The more I look at the money state of our world, the more I feel as though our world is asking us to find a new balance, to reframe what money is and what it can do for us. Because money for money's sake isn't really helpful. It doesn't seem to be working out so well. But when I recognize that the spending of my money is simply a reflection of where I wish to place my attention, my focus, I notice that my priorities shift pretty dramatically. And so I'm going to leave you with this quote before our prayer from one of my favorite songs called "Awake My Soul" by Marcus Mumford. And in this song, he says, "Where we invest our love, we invest our lives." And let us take that into prayer, shall we? So how good it is to be in the presence of that one, that infinite source for good. This life, this love, this abundance, this perfection, that is truly all that there is. I know that I am one with it, just as each and every beautiful person here and online and beyond, in our whole community, our whole world, we are all one. We are one with this love, this life, this joy, this abundance, this good. Those qualities of the divine, they make up our being. And so I claim here and now that in this oneness is the experience of balance. And I call forth that balance in relationship to our money. Wherever we are at with our money, I know that we are blessed by this perfect balance, this perfect harmony that expresses itself as and through us. I know that our finances are blessed, and I know that our hearts are open to sharing our finances wherever they can cultivate the highest degree of joy and happiness and well-being in our world. I know that we are all uplifted by this divine one, and that our hearts are able to sing the song of the divine in whatever way is perfect and individual to each of us. And it is so beautiful to witness that chorus of beauty, that singing through all of us together. And so I am just grateful for this, grateful for the fulfillment of this prayer and for this open-hearted compassion that is ever the more making itself known. I am grateful, grateful, grateful. And so I release this word into the action of that law that always says yes. And together we say, and so it is. And so now's the time of our service where we enter our practice of spiritual circulation. And I wanted to remind everyone that our giving intention season started last Sunday. Dr. Edward kicked it off talking about our 2023 nonprofit partners, where some of the portion of our giving goes to. And I'm really thrilled to say that we've already had such an amazing response. We've had so many people already fill out their giving intention cards. And not only that, we've had so many people who've actually increased what they're planning to give in 2023. So thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who's already filled out your giving intention card. And if you haven't done this yet, I invite you, if you're online, you can fill that out on our website. There's a link there. And if you're here in person, we have our giving intention team is out there at those tables right outside the sanctuary, and they will help you fill out that card and figure out what is right for you. We really appreciate those cards because what they do is they allow us to budget for 2023. They give us a sense of where we're going to be financially so that then we can be good stewards of the community's money as we bring forth these experiences here for you in our Sunday services, in our classes, in our groups and experiences. So they're invaluable to us, and we really appreciate everybody who fills one out and shares with us what you intend to give. Even if it's just $1 for the whole year, tell us about it. Let us know. Or if it's $1 million, we'll take that too. And so as we think about our gifts that we give today, I invite you to close your eyes if it feels comfortable and to recall a memory, a recent experience that fills you with joy and happiness. And allow that feeling of joy and happiness to expand in your mind and in your heart until it can't be contained anymore and it fills this whole room. And let us allow that joy and happiness to be what powers the gifts that we share today. And so go ahead and open your eyes and repeat after me as we bless our gifts. I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and prosper. It does amazing things in the world. And so it is. And so I'd like to invite Lynn up now to tell us about our next round of trustee recruitment. Welcome, Lynn.
Good morning. What a wonderful group we have here today. I'm just loving being here. I am Lynn Rubush, and I served on the Board of Trustees for 4.5 years, some of them as Vice President. And I really consider it a privilege today to be here to just share a little bit about that with you. I don't know how many of you have attended any of our board meetings, but we start every meeting by sharing out loud, by reading our sacred covenant. And in that covenant, it states that the purpose of our Board of Trustees is expressing love through service. Now, I've served on several boards in my lifetime, but never one that has such a purpose, very precious purpose, and nor one that has a sacred covenant. This board is really something special. For me, being on a board like ours is the highest honor I could have in being a member of our center. Serving on the board allows us, like our purpose says, to share the love we all feel for our beloved center and with everyone in the very special way of being an official representative for our center. As a trustee, you participate in the ins and outs of the center. I learned so much about what it takes for this program to work and what it takes for all of our activities. It takes a lot. It really does. I grew so much more appreciative of what each of our staff members does and of all of the volunteers. It's really incredible what we do in our world, what we as a collective community do in our world. It's amazing. And when you serve on the board, you get to see exactly how all of that works and be a part of the decision making. The application process for being on the board is a very heartfelt, introspective opportunity. I learned many things about myself that I'm not sure I would have had I not been taking the time to fill out the questions for the application. It's really a great way to spend some time pondering your personal spiritual journey. I loved being on the board. I met so many good friends who are still good friends of mine today. I grew tremendously in my appreciation for our center, and I grew as an individual also. It's a very, very special opportunity. I highly encourage you to go to our website at cslsr.org and click on the Be a Trustee link where you see people sitting around the table with the thumbs up sign. Or you can find more information out at our information table in the social hall. So give yourself a treat. Take my invitation. Trust me on this. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. Apply to serve on the Board of Trustees. I think you'll really be glad you did. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn, very much, and thank you for your service to our center in many, many ways. So, this is going to be a pretty quick ride because I just had a look at the clock. Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m., you can come for a midweek dip into spiritual community. This month, the focus is the pillars of spiritual circulation. Dr. Edward will talk about the spiritual practice of forgiving, and Reverend Russ will share his guitar meditations with us. The bookstore will be open for your holiday shopping. We are happy and hope to see you there, 7 p.m. in person, Wednesdays at the center. A week from Friday, November 4th, join our fall spiritual renewal. Practitioners are offering free 30-minute spiritual coaching sessions on Zoom. Share with a skilled practitioner the shift that would make everything else easier. Then seal your request with affirmative prayer. Appointments are at 1, 2, or 3 p.m. Pacific Time. You can sign up on our website or send an email to Kathy Galvin. I suggest rather than telling you her email, you go to the website and look for the Spiritual Renewal Autumn Leaves. Each year, we honor our loved ones at the Remembrance Service. It will be those who have passed. It will be in person in the sanctuary on Wednesday, 7 p.m., November 2nd. It will take the place of the Wednesday evening service. Reverend Sciotta and our Grief and Loss Support Ministry volunteers are hosting. If you would like them to read names of your loved ones who have passed, please share those names at the information table or send an email to Reverend Sciotta. There are more details on the website. Look for the candle. You may have noticed there are a few more pumpkins on the stage today. They are multiplying, though not quite as rapidly as Star Trek tribbles. You can help us keep the numbers in check by joining the Great Pumpkin Carving next Sunday after the second service. If you promise to carve it, you may bring your own pumpkin, or we would be happy to share one of our pumpkins for a modest handling fee. We would love to see you and your children or grandchildren on October 30th, right after our second service finishes at 12 noon. Rumor has it, those who participate in managing these pumpkins, whether you are carving or a bystander, can get your face painted for free. Again, that's after second service next Sunday. Before our closing, there will be a short video on a class that I'm teaching starting the first day of November. I'll be available out in the social hall if you have questions. And now I want to thank you for being a part of our spiritual community. And for those of us who are in the sanctuary, enjoy the beautiful artwork by Marcella Ford and Bob Hart. And know, every one of you, that you are welcome here.
Thomas Troward can be an acquired taste. Like coffee, your first reaction might be, nope, not for me. I invite you to invest 6 weeks sampling Troward in my class, Consciousness and the Creative Process. You may discover ways to powerfully align yourself with your divine nature. You may bump into doubts and beliefs that keep you from your best life. You might, as I did, come to appreciate this magistrate mystic who contributed much to Ernest Holmes' philosophy of the science of mind. You may join a morning online class or an evening version in person. Both classes start Tuesday, November 1st. Let's sip together.
So I encourage you to check that class out. I know it's going to be fantastic. Also, in 2 weeks, on the first Saturday of November, I'm going to be leading my next Spirit Walk. It's also going to be on the Riverfront Trail. So if you're wondering about how you can get signed up for that, talk to me after service or look for the sneakers on our website. Now, if you've been having a challenging time, or if you're just wanting to have one of our practitioners affirm your wholeness and your good with you, I invite you to go check out our after-service prayer. We offer that on Zoom. If you're remote, you can take advantage of it that way. And for our group here in between the 9 and the 11 services, we have our in-person prayer with a practitioner that you can go and check out over in Wagoner Hall on our north wing. And it's a really wonderful way for you to get spiritual support if that's what you're looking for. So I encourage you to check that out. And so it's time for us to close our service. So if it feels comfortable, if you're able, go ahead and stand and repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called life. Life is in my mind. Life is in my body, and life is in my affairs. I think it, I feel it, and I accept it. Just the way that it is, and just the way that it is not. Thank you, life. Please know with me that you are never alone, that Spirit is right where you are, that you have only to look within at any moment to know that you're guided, sustained, and empowered by a presence that expresses itself as you in this world. In deepest gratitude, let us live our lives accordingly so that in everything that we do, say, and think, we honor this divine presence within. And so it is. Enjoy the closing music and have a wonderful week.